Welcome to a world where family drama meets raw, unfiltered truth. Here, every story dives deep into the twists and turns of relationships, exposing hidden betrayals, shocking secrets, and the emotional roller coaster of raising someone else's burdens. From the exhaustion of endless sacrifices to the moment boundaries snap, these tales reveal the intense realities behind every pregnancy announcement, every broken promise, and every hidden manipulation. Watch as ordinary family life spirals into gripping revenge, where loyalty is tested, patience is pushed to the limit, and quiet helpers transform into unstoppable forces ready to reclaim control. Every story uncovers the shocking truths about husbands, sisters, and the people we trust most, keeping you on the edge of your seat. If you're drawn to stories of suspense, betrayal, and emotional payback, you found the right place. The announcement came casually, like it was good news everyone should celebrate. A fifth pregnancy. Laughter around the table, clinking glasses, excited voices talking about baby names and tiny clothes. But behind the smiles, exhaustion sat heavy in the room, carried silently for years. Because long before that moment, the responsibility had already been quietly shifted. 4 children already filled the house with noise, homework, scraped knees, and bedtime stories. Yet the one who gave birth rarely stayed long enough to manage the chaos. Late nights out, endless excuses, promises that tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow never came. Instead, small backpacks were packed every morning, lunches made before sunrise, and nightmares soothed long after midnight. A role that was never meant to belong to anyone else slowly became permanent. Everyone pretended it was normal. Family helps family, they said. But family wasn't supposed to mean surrendering entire years of life while someone else chased freedom without consequences. The exhaustion wasn't just physical, it was the quiet understanding that appreciation would never come. Then came the pregnancy announcement, the fifth child. The room celebrated, but something inside finally snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a calm realization that the cycle would never stop unless someone forced it to. That night, after the children were asleep, a conversation unfolded behind a closed door. At first, it sounded familiar. Excuses, laughter, promises. But then something slipped out that changed everything. A careless comment about how easy life had become, how convenient it was that someone else had stepped in, how there was always someone dependable to pick up the pieces. But the most shocking part wasn't about the children. It was about the husband. A secret that had been hiding in plain sight for years slowly surfaced through careless words and late-night phone messages. While one sister abandoned responsibilities, a husband had been quietly enjoying the arrangement too. Long work trips, mysterious late-night calls, and strange financial gaps suddenly made perfect sense. The betrayal wasn't just family exhaustion anymore, it was manipulation. The next morning, breakfast was made like usual, lunch boxes packed like usual, smiles exchanged across the kitchen table like nothing had changed. But deep down, the decision had already been made. Because the moment family loyalty finally breaks, the truth has a way of destroying everything that once depended on silence. The announcement came like a thunderclap in a quiet house. Another pregnancy, the fifth. Excitement rippled around the room, but beneath the polite congratulations, years of silent sacrifice pressed like a weight no one acknowledged. Meals had been cooked, laundry folded, school projects managed, doctor's appointments kept, all for children that were not meant to belong. Nights blurred into mornings, always filled with someone else's responsibilities. And still, the support had never faltered until it began to crack. For years, boundaries had been invisible, eroded by constant demands and unspoken expectations. Every favor granted chipped away at patience. Every promise broken added a layer of resentment. The excitement over another child, which should have been joyous, felt like a personal affront. it wasn't just fatigue, it was the realization that unconditional support had become exploitation. That evening, after the chaos of bedtime routines, the quiet of the house carried a tension that had been brewing for months. Conversations that once seemed harmless began to reveal subtle manipulations, compliments that disguised guilt trips, casual remarks that revealed entitlement, and then the truth surfaced, carefully hidden until the right moment. The husband, once thought a silent partner in the household struggle, had been complicit all along. Messages, small withdrawals, unexplained absences, every overlooked detail formed a picture of betrayal that had been ignored for far too long. The moment crystallized. The fatigue, the resentment, the unacknowledged sacrifices, they were being exploited. The realization was both shocking and clarifying. This wasn't just about a sister who demanded more and more attention. It was about a partner who quietly enabled the imbalance, who hid behind smiles and excuses while someone else carried the weight. The next morning, routines continued, masks firmly in place, breakfast served, kids off to school, laughter exchanged like nothing had changed. But the air carried a new weight, one of resolve, quiet but firm. The invisible boundaries that had been crossed for so long would no longer be ignored. Because once the truth about betrayal is fully seen, the bold decision to reclaim control becomes inevitable. The house was always full of noise, chaos, and little demands that never seemed to end. Breakfasts made before sunrise, homework checked after long nights, and endless errands for a family that never seemed to notice. Babysitting had become a second nature, but the recognition never came. Sleep was stolen in small fragments, nights stretching into mornings, and still the sacrifices went unnoticed. What started as a simple favor years ago had become a relentless routine, a responsibility that quietly consumed everything else. Then came the announcement. Another pregnancy. The fifth. At first, it seemed like just another chapter in a story that had been repeating for years. But beneath the smiles and celebrations, frustration simmered, unspoken but undeniable. The burden had grown too heavy, and the invisible labor had left cracks that could no longer be ignored. It wasn't just exhaustion, it was the knowledge that the sacrifices were being taken for granted, and worse, enabled by someone who was supposed to care as much as anyone else in the house. Late that night, as the children slept, conversations that seemed ordinary began to reveal a web of hidden truths. Casual remarks about convenience, about how easy life had been, hinted at something more. And then the shock hit. A husband, quiet and unseen in the chaos, had been hiding more than anyone imagined. Secrets tucked away behind smiles, small lies that now painted a picture of betrayal. Every overlooked message, every unexplained absence suddenly made sense. While the children were cared for and the house ran smoothly, someone had been quietly taking advantage, letting someone else shoulder the weight while enjoying the benefits without accountability. It was more than disappointment. It was a turning point. The realization that years of selfless effort had been manipulated, that trust had been quietly broken, ignited a sense of clarity. Emotional confrontations loomed in the near future, but first came the silence, the quiet understanding that this chapter would not continue in the same way. Because when years of unseen sacrifice collide with betrayal, the moment comes when endurance turns into action, and what has been hidden can no longer remain a secret. The fifth announcement came with laughter and congratulations, but inside the walls of the house, tension had already reached a breaking point. For years, boundaries had been ignored, blurred by constant obligations that no one else seemed willing to shoulder. Meals prepared, errands run, children cared for, always on call, always giving, and always invisible in the eyes of those who benefited the most. Yet the latest news shattered the fragile balance, stirring a quiet storm that had been building for years. It was never just about the children, it was the expectation that someone else would step in repeatedly without question or gratitude. The exhaustion had been mounting, every favor granted stretching patience thinner, every sleepless night adding another layer of resentment. And as the fifth pregnancy announcement echoed in the house, the realization hit like ice. The sacrifices had been taken for granted, the generosity exploited, and the trust manipulated. Later, in the dim quiet of the house, secrets that had been hidden behind smiles began to surface. Words slipped carelessly, revealing more than intended. The husband, long thought to be uninvolved in the daily struggles, had been quietly complicit in the imbalance. Messages ignored, unexplained withdrawals, and subtle lies painted a picture of betrayal that cut deeper than any sleepless night ever could. The manipulation was deliberate, the complicity clear, and the realization was both painful and electrifying. This wasn't just about fatigue anymore, it was about control. The quiet family helper, always present, always supporting, began to see the truth for what it was. Every overlooked effort, every dismissed boundary, every ignored sacrifice had led to this moment. The power dynamic that had long favored others would no longer hold. There was a decision to make, a line that could not be crossed again, and a new path that demanded reclaiming authority and respect. Morning came, routines continued, but the atmosphere had shifted. Breakfast was served, backpacks packed, children off to school. The smiles remained, but beneath them, a quiet strength simmered. Boundaries were no longer invisible, and patience was no longer endless. Because when manipulation and betrayal collide with unacknowledged sacrifice, the moment arrives when control is reclaimed, and nothing will ever be the same. Thank you for watching and witnessing the twists, betrayals, and shocking secrets unfold. If these stories of family drama, hidden sacrifices, and unexpected revenge kept you on edge, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe now to join a community that loves uncovering the raw truths behind every relationship, every manipulation, and every shocking secret. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your reactions might just spark the next story we tell. Stay tuned for the next twist, because in this world of family and revenge, the surprises never stop.